Marcus Cole pushed through the double doors of Riverside Elementary. His boots hit the linoleum hard. The leather vest stretched across his shoulders as he moved past the front desk without slowing down. "She already left with the after-school group," the secretary called after him, but Marcus kept walking. Something pulled at his gut, something he could not name. He passed the main hallway. He passed the empty classrooms with their lights off and chairs stacked on desks. He climbed the stairs 2 at a time. The cafeteria sat on the second floor. That is where the after-school kids waited for pickup. The cafeteria doors were propped open. The room was almost empty now. A few staff members wiped down tables with wet rags. Trays clattered somewhere in the kitchen. The smell of old milk and floor cleaner hung in the air. Marcus scanned the room. His eyes moved from table to table. He did not see Lily at first. Then his gaze drifted to the far corner, near the garbage bins, near the wall where the recycling posters hung crooked and faded. His daughter was on her knees. Her small hands moved across the tile floor. She picked up a bread crust and shoved it into her mouth, then a half-eaten apple slice, then something brown and soft that might have been part of a sandwich. She chewed fast. She swallowed hard. She reached for more. Marcus did not move. His boots stayed frozen to the tile. His fists tightened at his sides. His breath came slow and heavy through his nose. He watched her for 3 seconds. 4, 5. She did not see him. She was too focused on finding the next scrap. Her uniform was dirty. Stains ran down the front of her white shirt. Her hair was tangled and dull. Her face looked thinner than he remembered. When had that happened? When had his little girl started to disappear? 2 cafeteria workers stood 10 feet away. One of them held a phone. They both laughed at something on the screen. A teacher walked past the garbage bins without looking down. Her heels clicked against the floor. She kept moving. She did not stop. No one saw what Marcus saw. No one noticed the 8-year-old girl eating from the ground like a stray animal. No one cared enough to look. Marcus felt the burn start in his chest. It spread up into his throat. His mind raced backward. He remembered this morning, dropping Lily off at the front entrance. She had smiled at him. She had waved. She had looked fine, but she was not fine. She had not been fine for a long time. This was not the first time. He could see that now. The way she moved, the way she knew exactly where to look, the way her hands worked so fast. She had done this before, many times. Someone had been starving his daughter inside this school. Someone had been watching her suffer. And no one had told him. Not the teachers, not the office, not a single adult in this building. He took 1 step forward. His boot echoed on the tile. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Lily looked up. Her eyes went wide. The bread crust fell from her fingers. It bounced once on the floor and rolled away. Her lips trembled. She did not run to him. She did not smile. She did not say "Daddy." She froze, like a deer caught in headlights, like a child who had been caught doing something wrong. But she was not wrong. She was hungry. She was desperate, and she was afraid. Marcus knelt slowly. His leather creaked as he lowered himself to her level. His hands shook. He reached for her. His fingers stretched toward her thin arm. She flinched. That flinch broke something inside him. In that small movement, he saw everything. He saw fear. He saw hunger. He saw weeks of silent suffering. Maybe months. His daughter had been crying for help, in the only way she knew how. And no one had listened. "Lily," he said. His voice cracked on her name. She looked at the floor. Her shoulders curled inward. She would not meet his eyes. Marcus stayed low. He did not touch her yet. He did not want to scare her more. But his jaw tightened. His teeth pressed together until his molars ached. Someone had done this to her. Someone had let this happen. And that someone was still in this building. He pulled out his phone. The screen lit up. His thumb hovered over a single contact. The name at the top of the list read Brotherhood. 1 tap would send a message to 200 bikers. 1 call would bring them all here, to this school, to this cafeteria, to this corner where his daughter kneeled in the dirt. But not yet. First, he needed answers. He needed to know who had done this to his daughter. He needed to know why. His thumb stayed frozen over the screen. Lily stayed frozen on the floor. And somewhere in this building, Someone was about to have the worst day of their life. 2 months before, Marcus found his daughter on the cafeteria floor. Life looked different. Not perfect, but manageable. The kind of life a man builds after losing everything and deciding to keep going anyway. Elena had been gone for 3 years. Cancer took her slow. It took her piece by piece while Marcus held her hand, and Lily drew pictures at the foot of the hospital bed. When she finally passed, the house went quiet, the kind of quiet that sits in your chest and never really leaves. Marcus learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. He learned to pack lunches from trial and error. He learned that a little girl needs more than food and shelter. She needs someone to listen, someone to show up, someone to stay. He worked at Hannigan's Auto Repair 6 days a week. His hands stayed black with grease. His back ached by Friday. But the money kept the lights on and the fridge full. That was enough. That had to be enough. On weekends, he rode with the Iron Wolves. People saw the leather vests and the loud pipes and made their own stories. They saw criminals. They saw danger. They saw men who did not belong near schools or playgrounds. But the Iron Wolves were none of those things. They were veterans who came home with scars. Nobody could see. They were fathers who coached Little League and fixed neighbors' cars for free. They were workers who punched clocks and paid taxes and looked out for each other when the world forgot to care. Marcus found them after Elena died. They gave him something to hold on to when everything else was slipping away. They became his brothers, his family, the people who showed up at 2 a.m. when the grief got too heavy to carry alone. Lily understood the club in her own way. She called them the motorcycle uncles. She drew pictures of their bikes with crayons. She fell asleep on the clubhouse couch while the men played cards and told old stories. She was safe with them. She was loved. But she was quiet. She had always been a gentle child, soft-spoken, shy around strangers. She liked drawing more than talking. She liked her stuffed rabbit named Button more than most people. After her mother died, that quietness deepened. She pulled inward. She watched more than she spoke. Marcus thought Riverside Elementary would help. A good school, a fresh start, a place where she could make friends and feel normal again. He walked her to the front doors on the first day. She held his hand tight. She looked up at the big brick building with wide eyes. "You're going to do great," he told her. She nodded. She did not say anything. But she walked through those doors, and Marcus believed he had done the right thing. At first, everything seemed fine. Lily came home smiling. She talked about her teacher, Mrs. Delaney. She talked about a girl named Sophie, who shared her crayons during art class. She talked about the library and the playground and the big window in her classroom that looked out at the trees. Marcus listened to every word. He asked questions. He tucked her in at night. He believed she was healing. He believed the worst was behind them. But then the small signs started. Lily stopped finishing her breakfast. She pushed the eggs around her plate. She said she was not hungry. Marcus told himself she was just a picky eater. Kids go through phases. It did not mean anything. She asked him to pack smaller lunches. She said the other kids had smaller ones too. She said she did not want to look different. Marcus cut the sandwiches in half. He left out the extra apple. He trusted her. He trusted the school. Then her grades dropped. Not by a lot, just enough to notice. Her teacher sent home a paper with a C- where there used to be an A. Marcus asked if something was wrong. Lily shook her head. She said school was fine. She said she just needed to try harder. She stopped talking about Sophie. She stopped talking about the playground. She came home one day with a bruise on her arm, purple and yellow, the size of a thumb. "What happened?" Marcus asked. "I fell during recess," she said. Her eyes stayed on the floor. He believed her. He had no reason not to. She was clumsy sometimes. Kids fall. Kids bruise. It did not mean anything. It did not mean anything. The school never called. No teacher sent a note home. No counselor scheduled a meeting. No one asked if Lily was okay. No one asked if the man in the leather vest was taking care of his daughter. Marcus assumed no news was good news. He was busy. He was tired. He was doing his best. He did not know that his daughter had become invisible inside those walls. He did not know that someone had noticed her. Someone who saw a quiet girl with no mother. A girl whose father wore leather and rode a loud motorcycle. A girl who would not fight back. A girl who would not tell. Someone who worked inside that school had decided Lily did not deserve the same kindness as the other children, and they had been punishing her in silence for weeks. The night before Marcus found her on the cafeteria floor, he checked on her before bed. She was already asleep. Her stuffed rabbit was pressed against her chest. Her face looked peaceful in the dark. He stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching, just grateful. Then she whispered something. "Please," she said. Her voice was small and far away. "I'll be good." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He stepped closer. He touched her forehead. She was not awake. She was dreaming. Just a bad dream. Kids have bad dreams sometimes. He kissed her forehead. He pulled the blanket up to her chin. He whispered that she was safe, that Daddy was here, that nothing bad would happen to her. Then he went back to bed. He did not know those words were a warning. He did not know that somewhere in her dreams, his daughter was begging for mercy from someone who had none to give. Brenda Holloway walked the lunch line with her clipboard pressed against her chest. Her shoes clicked on the cafeteria tile. Her eyes moved from tray to tray, from child to child, watching, counting, judging. She had worked at Riverside Elementary for 11 years. 11 years of serving mashed potatoes and green beans. 11 years of wiping tables and watching children waste food their parents paid good money for. 11 years of being ignored by teachers and overlooked by administrators. But in this cafeteria, she had power. In this room, she made the rules. The children knew it. They straightened up when she walked past. They said please and thank you without being asked. They did not complain about their portions. They did not ask for seconds unless she offered. They feared her. And Brenda believed fear was the same thing as respect. She remembered the first day she saw Lily Cole. It was early September. The leaves were just starting to turn. A black motorcycle had rumbled into the drop-off lane. The engine was loud, too loud. Parents turned to stare. Teachers frowned. A man climbed off the bike. He wore a leather vest with patches. His arms were covered in tattoos. His beard was gray and rough. He knelt down and hugged a little girl in a white uniform. He kissed her forehead. He watched her walk through the front doors. Brenda stood at the window and watched. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Her fingers tightened on the glass. She knew exactly what kind of man that was. She had seen them before. Criminals, drunks, men who hit their wives and scared their children, men who did not belong near schools, men who should not be raising little girls. She looked at Lily walking through the hallway. Small, quiet, alone. A child being raised by a man like that. A child who needed saving. Brenda made a decision that morning. She would correct this girl. She would teach her the discipline her father clearly could not. She would show her what real structure looked like. It started small. Lily came through the lunch line with her tray. She asked for a second roll. Brenda looked at her and shook her head. "One is enough," she said. "We don't waste food here." Lily nodded. She did not argue. She took her tray and sat down. The next day, Brenda gave her a smaller portion of meat. The day after that, she skipped the fruit cup entirely. She told the other servers that Lily had a sensitive stomach. She said the girl's father had requested smaller meals. No one questioned it. No one checked. Within a week, Lily was eating half of what the other children received. Within 2 weeks, she was sitting alone at a table near the garbage bins. Brenda had told her the other tables were full. She had told her this was her assigned seat now. She had told her not to complain. Lily did not complain. She sat where she was told. She ate what she was given. She watched the other children laugh and talk and share cookies from their lunch boxes. She did not ask to join them. She did not understand why she had been separated. Brenda told the other children not to share food with Lily. She said the girl had allergies. She said sharing could make her sick. The children believed her. They stopped offering. They stopped looking at Lily altogether. Sophie, the girl who used to share her crayons, walked past Lily's table one day. She held half a granola bar in her hand. She started to reach out, but Brenda appeared behind her. "Not that one," she said quietly. "She can't have outside food." Sophie pulled her hand back. She walked away without looking at Lily, and Lily sat there with her empty tray and her empty eyes and did not say a word. Brenda told Lily what would happen if she told anyone. She leaned down close. Her breath smelled like coffee. Her voice was soft and sharp at the same time. "Your father is a biker," she said. "Do you know what people think of bikers?" Lily shook her head. "They think they're dangerous. They think they're criminals. If you tell anyone about this, they'll think your father is hurting you. They'll call the police. They'll take you away from him." "Is that what you want?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head faster. "Then be a good girl," Brenda said. "Eat what you're given. Stay quiet, and maybe things will get better." Things did not get better. They got worse. Lily grew thinner. Her cheeks hollowed. Her uniform hung loose. She stopped raising her hand in class. She stopped playing at recess. She sat on the bench and waited for the bell. She counted the minutes until she could go home and eat something real. She learned to find scraps on the floor after the other children left. A crust here, a bite of apple there. She learned to chew quietly so no one would hear. She learned to hide. Brenda watched from across the cafeteria. She watched Lily shrink. She watched the light go out of her eyes. And she felt satisfied. She believed she was teaching this child a lesson. She believed she was doing what the girl's father could not. She believed she was saving her. On the morning Marcus found his daughter, Brenda did something new. The lunch line was long. Lily stood at the end with her tray. When she reached the counter, Brenda looked at her and shook her head. "Nothing left," she said. "You'll have to wait until tomorrow." "But I'm hungry," Lily whispered. Brenda smiled. It did not reach her eyes. "Then you should have come earlier." She made Lily sit at her table, alone, with an empty tray. She made her watch the other children eat their chicken nuggets and corn and chocolate milk. She made her smell the food she could not have. Then Brenda walked away to check the kitchen inventory. She did not look back. She did not know that Marcus Cole would arrive early that day. She did not know that 11 years of control were about to come crashing down around her. Marcus stayed low, on the cafeteria floor. His knees pressed into the cold tile. His hands hovered in the air between them. He did not touch Lily. Not yet. Not until she was ready. His heart pounded against his ribs. His blood ran hot. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to stand up, to find whoever did this, to make them answer for every second of his daughter's suffering. But he looked at her face. He saw the fear in her eyes. She was not afraid of the cafeteria or the empty trays or the scraps on the floor. She was afraid of him, afraid of what he might do, afraid that his anger would make everything worse. So Marcus breathed. He forced the fire down. He made himself soft. "Lily," he said. His voice came out quiet, gentle, the way he used to speak to her when she was a baby and could not sleep. "Daddy is here. You're safe now." She did not move. Her hands stayed frozen at her sides. The bread crust lay on the floor between them. "I'm not mad at you," he said. "I could never be mad at you. Do you understand?" Her chin trembled. Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded, just barely, just enough. "We're going home," Marcus said. "Right now. We're leaving this place, and we're going home." He opened his arms. He waited. He did not reach for her. He let her choose. Lily looked at him for a long moment. Then she stepped forward. She pressed her face into his chest. Her small arms wrapped around his neck, and she cried. Not loud sobs, not screams, silent tears. The kind that come from holding pain inside for too long. The kind that have no sound because the person has learned that crying out loud does not help. Marcus held her tight. He felt how light she was, how thin. He felt her ribs through her shirt. He felt the hollow spaces where there used to be more of her. He stood up slowly. He cradled her against his chest. Her legs dangled at his sides. Her face stayed buried in his shoulder. She did not look at the cafeteria. She did not look at anyone. The two workers had stopped laughing. They stood by the kitchen door with their phones lowered. They saw the patch on Marcus's back, iron wolves. They saw the look in his eyes. They saw a father carrying a child who weighed almost nothing. They said nothing. They did not ask if he needed help. They did not ask what was wrong. They just watched him walk out. Marcus carried Lily down the stairs, through the empty hallway, past the front office where the secretary sat behind her desk. She looked up. She opened her mouth to say something, but Marcus did not stop. He pushed through the front doors and walked to his truck. He buckled Lily into the back seat. He tucked a jacket around her shoulders. She stared out the window with wet cheeks and empty eyes. Marcus got behind the wheel. He started the engine. He did not speak. He waited. The first words came 5 minutes down the road. "There's a lady," Lily whispered. Her voice was so quiet he almost missed it. "Mrs. Holloway. She works in the cafeteria." Marcus gripped the steering wheel. "What did she do?" "She said I couldn't have food. She said my portions were too big. She made me sit alone." "How long?" "Since the first week. She said if I told anyone, you would get in trouble. She said the police would come. She said bikers were bad people." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. His knuckles went white against the leather. But his voice stayed calm. "She lied to you, sweetheart. Everything she said was a lie. She told the other kids not to share with me. She said I was sick. She said I had a special diet. None of that is true." "I know," Lily said. "But I was scared." Marcus pulled the truck to the side of the road. He turned around in his seat. He looked at his daughter. Her face was pale. Her cheeks were wet. Her eyes were tired in a way no 8-year-old's eyes should ever be. "Thank you for telling me," he said. "That was very brave. And I promise you, Lily, I promise on your mother's memory, this will never happen again." She nodded. She believed him. She had always believed him. When they got home, Marcus carried her inside. He set her on the couch. He wrapped her in her favorite blanket. Button the rabbit sat beside her. He went to the kitchen. He heated soup on the stove. He sliced fresh bread from the loaf on the counter. He poured a glass of milk. He brought everything to her on a tray. Lily ate slowly. She took small bites. She chewed carefully, like she had forgotten how food was supposed to taste, like she had forgotten that eating could be safe. Marcus watched her from the doorway. He did not sit. He did not eat. He just watched. Something broke inside him, not his heart. He had already lost that once. This was something deeper. The belief that the world would protect his daughter when he could not. The belief that schools were safe, that teachers were kind, that adults would look out for children who could not speak for themselves. That belief shattered like glass on a concrete floor. After Lily fell asleep, Marcus stepped outside. The night air was cool. The street was quiet. He lit a cigarette and stared at the sky. The stars looked cold and sheeting away. He stood there for a long time, thinking, planning, deciding. Then he pulled out his phone. He scrolled to a contact, saved under one word: brotherhood. He pressed the call button. A deep voice answered on the second ring. "Marcus, what's wrong?" Marcus took a long drag from his cigarette. He exhaled slowly. The smoke curled into the darkness. "I need the club," he said. The voice on the other end did not hesitate. "When?" "Tomorrow morning. Everyone." There was a pause, then the voice spoke again. "We'll be there." Marcus ended the call. He stared at the phone in his hand. He thought about Brenda Holloway. He thought about the cafeteria. He thought about his daughter eating from the floor like a stray dog. By morning, 200 motorcycles would roll into town. By morning, Riverside Elementary would face something it had never seen before. Not violence. Marcus would not give them violence. He would give them something worse: accountability. The first engine rumbled at the edge of town just after 7 in the morning. Then another, then 10 more, then 100. People stepped onto their porches with coffee cups in hand. They looked down Main Street toward the sound. What they saw made them freeze. A river of chrome and leather stretched as far as they could see. Headlights cut through the early mist. Exhaust rose into the cool air like smoke signals. 200 motorcycles. 200 riders. They came from every direction. They merged into formation at the town limits and rolled forward as one. The Iron Wolves rode at the center, but they were not alone. 6 other clubs had answered the call. Steel Legion from the north, Black Mountain Suns from the west, Road Saints, Devil's Kin, Broken Chain. Men who had never ridden together now moved as a single force. They did not speed. They did not rev their engines or weave between lanes. They rode at exactly 25 miles per hour, steady, controlled, disciplined. This was not a gang looking for trouble. This was something else entirely. Marcus rode at the front of the formation. His leather vest bore the Iron Wolves patch. Across the back, his graying beard caught the wind. His eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead. Lily was not with him. She was safe at home. Marcus's sister had driven in from 2 towns over last night. She sat with Lily now. They were watching cartoons and eating pancakes. Lily did not know what her father was about to do, She did not need to know. Not yet. But her story rode with every man behind Marcus. Last night, he had gathered them in the clubhouse. He stood at the front of the room and told them everything. He showed them pictures of Lily from before school started. Bright eyes, full cheeks, a smile that could light up a room. Then he showed them pictures from yesterday. The hollow face, the thin arms, the fear. He told them about the cafeteria floor, about the scraps, about the woman who controlled the food and used her power to starve a child for sport. He told them about the lies Brenda Holloway had whispered, about the threats, about the months of silent suffering. The room went quiet when he finished. No one moved. No one spoke. Then a man named Hank stood up. He was 62 years old with white hair and scars on his knuckles from decades of hard work. He had 3 grandchildren of his own. His voice was rough when he spoke. "What do you need from us, brother?" Marcus looked at him. "I need the world to see. I need that school to know we are watching. I need that woman to face what she did." The club did not vote on revenge. They voted on justice. They voted on visibility. They voted on making sure no child in this town would ever be invisible again. The vote was unanimous. Now the motorcycles rolled to a stop outside Riverside Elementary. The engines cut off one by one. The sudden silence was almost louder than the roar had been. The riders climbed off their bikes. They stood beside them in rows. They did not enter the school grounds. They did not shout or wave signs. They simply stood, 200 men in leather, arms crossed, eyes forward, watching. Parents arriving with children slowed their cars to a crawl. They stared through their windshields at the wall of bikers. Some pulled over to the side of the road. Some kept driving past, too nervous to stop. Others parked and walked their children to the front doors, glancing over their shoulders the whole way. Teachers appeared at the windows. They clustered together and whispered. Phones came out. Photos were taken. No one seemed to know what to do. The front doors of the school burst open. A man in a gray suit rushed down the steps. His tie flapped in the wind. His face was red and his breathing was heavy. He marched straight toward the line of motorcycles. Mr. David Stern had been principal of Riverside Elementary for 9 years. He had dealt with angry parents before. He had dealt with budget cuts and broken pipes and 1,000 small emergencies. But he had never dealt with this. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. His voice cracked on the last word. Marcus stepped forward from the line. He moved slowly. He kept his hands visible at his sides. "We are here to ensure your school investigates a staff member who has been abusing a child," Marcus said. His voice was calm, level, the kind of calm that comes from absolute certainty. Mr. Stern blinked. "Abusing? What are you talking about?" "A member of your cafeteria staff has been systematically starving my daughter for the past 2 months, denying her food, isolating her from other children, threatening her into silence. That is a serious accusation. I have documents, I have photographs, I have a lawyer who will be here within the hour, and I have 200 witnesses who will make sure this matter is handled properly." Mr. Stern looked at the rows of motorcycles, at the men who stood beside them without flinching, at the phones recording everything from passing cars. "Who is the staff member?" he asked quietly. Marcus held his gaze. "Brenda Holloway." The color drained from the principal's face. Inside the school, Brenda Holloway heard the engines die. The sudden silence made her look up from her clipboard. She walked to the cafeteria window. She pushed aside the dusty blinds. She saw the motorcycles, row after row of them. She saw the men standing like statues. She saw the principal on the front steps, his shoulders hunched and his hands raised in surrender. Then she saw Marcus Cole. He stood at the front of the crowd, his head turned slowly. His eyes lifted toward the second floor, toward the cafeteria window, toward her. Brenda's hand trembled against the blinds. Her chest tightened. Her mouth went dry. For 11 years, she had held power in this room. For 11 years, she had decided who ate and who did not, who belonged and who was cast aside. Now she stood at the window and felt something she had not felt in a very long time. The same thing she had made Lily feel every single day: fear. Brenda Holloway walked into the conference room with her chin held high. Her clipboard was tucked under her arm. Her shoes clicked against the tile with the same authority they always had. 11 years in this building. 11 years of service. She had nothing to fear from a meeting. Principal Stern sat at the head of the table. His face was pale, his hands were folded in front of him. He did not stand when she entered. He did not greet her. Two other people sat at the table. A woman in a dark blazer Brenda did not recognize. A man in a suit who she knew was from the school board. Neither of them smiled. "Sit down, Brenda," Principal Stern said. She sat. She placed her clipboard on the table. She folded her hands the same way he had folded his. "What is this about?" she asked. Her voice was steady, controlled, the voice of someone who believed she was untouchable. The woman in the blazer slid a folder across the table. It stopped in front of Brenda. "Open it," she said. Brenda looked at the folder. It was thick, manila-colored, unmarked. She reached for it slowly. She flipped open the cover. The first thing she saw was a photograph of Lily Cole, taken in September. Bright eyes, full cheeks, a smile that belonged on a cereal box. The second photograph was different. Same girl, same uniform. But the face was hollow. The arms were thin. The eyes were tired and afraid. Brenda's fingers tightened on the edge of the folder. The next page showed a still image from security footage. The cafeteria, the corner near the garbage bins, a small girl on her knees, picking food from the floor. Brenda's mouth went dry. "We pulled the footage this morning," Principal Stern said. His voice was quiet, almost sad. "We found 6 different recordings over the past month. 6 different days where Lily Cole was seen eating scraps from the floor after other children had left." Brenda did not look up. The woman in the blazer spoke again. "We also received written statements from 3 other parents. Their children reported being denied food, isolated from classmates, and threatened with punishment if they complained. All of them identified you by name." The room was silent. Outside, the sound of the motorcycles had long since stopped, but everyone in the building knew the bikers were still there, watching, waiting. Brenda cleared her throat. She straightened her spine. She looked at the faces around the table. "I was enforcing portion control," she said. "These children waste so much food. Parents pack too much. They need to learn discipline." No one responded. The Cole girl was different. Her father is a biker. "You know what that means. Those people do not raise children properly. I was trying to help her. I was trying to teach her structure." The man from the school board leaned forward. His voice was cold. "You denied a child food. For 2 months. You isolated her. You threatened her. You made her so afraid that she ate garbage off the floor rather than ask for help." Brenda's hands trembled. "That is not what happened. We have it on video." She opened her mouth. Then she closed it. Her eyes darted to the door, to the window, to anywhere but the faces staring at her. Outside the school, the bikers had not moved. They stood in perfect rows beside their motorcycles. 200 men, arms crossed, silent. News vans lined the street across from the school. Cameras pointed at the front doors. Reporters spoke into microphones while photographers snapped pictures. The story had gone viral in less than an hour. Social media exploded with images of the leather-clad wall of witnesses. Parents called the front office in waves. The phone rang without stopping. Teachers whispered in the hallways. Students pressed their faces to classroom windows. The whole town had stopped to watch. A black sedan pulled into the parking lot. A woman stepped out. She wore a gray suit and carried a briefcase. Her heels clicked on the pavement as she walked past the row of motorcycles. She nodded once at Marcus. He nodded back. This was the lawyer. She entered the building without stopping at the front desk. She walked straight to the conference room. She knocked once and pushed open the door. "I represent the Cole family," she said. She placed her briefcase on the table and opened it. "I am filing a formal complaint against Brenda Holloway for child abuse and neglect. I am also requesting her immediate suspension, pending a full investigation by the district and by Child Protective Services." Principal Stern looked at the school board member. The school board member looked at the folder full of photographs. He looked at the security footage stills. He looked at the statements from 3 other families. Then he looked at Brenda. "Your employment is suspended effective immediately," he said. "Security will escort you from the building." Brenda stood, so fast, her chair scraped against the floor. "You cannot do this. I have worked here for 11 years. I have friends on the board. I have never been questioned." "You are being questioned now," the lawyer said. 2 security guards appeared at the door. They waited in the hallway. They did not speak. Brenda looked around the room one last time. Her eyes were wide, her face was flushed. The confidence she had carried into this room was gone. She picked up her clipboard. She walked to the door. She did not look back. The front doors of the school opened. Brenda stepped out into the morning light. She froze at the top of the steps. 200 bikers stood before her. They did not move. They did not speak. They did not need to. Their eyes followed her as she walked down the steps. Their silence was heavier than any shout could have been. Their presence said everything words could not. Brenda walked to her car with her head down. Her hands shook as she fumbled with her keys. She dropped them once, twice. She did not look at the men watching her. She could not. When she finally got the door open, she climbed inside and sat there for a long moment. The engine did not start. Her hands stayed frozen on the steering wheel. Then she drove away. Marcus watched her go. His face was calm. His arms stayed crossed over his chest. The other bikers did not move. No one celebrated. No one cheered. This was not a victory. Not yet. Brenda Holloway was gone. But Marcus still had questions. He wanted to know how this had happened for so long without anyone noticing. He wanted to know why no teacher spoke up, why no counselor checked on the thin girl sitting alone by the garbage bins, why the system failed his daughter at every turn. And he wanted to make sure it never happened again, to Lily, to any child. The war was not over. It had just begun. The investigation started 3 days after Brenda Holloway walked out of Riverside Elementary for the last time. It did not stop for 2 weeks. Police officers arrived at the school with notebooks and recorders. They interviewed teachers and cafeteria staff. They pulled security footage from locked archives that no one had touched in years. They sat with children in quiet rooms and asked gentle questions about lunchtime. The school board hired an outside firm to conduct a separate review. They sent people in suits to examine records and policies. They looked at meal logs and attendance sheets and disciplinary reports. They looked at everything Brenda Holloway had touched in 11 years. What they found was worse than anyone expected. Lily Cole was not the only victim. A boy named Ethan came forward first. He was 10 years old. His father was in prison. His grandmother raised him alone on a fixed income. For an entire year, Brenda had given him half portions at lunch. She told him big boys did not need so much food. She told him his family could not afford to waste the school's resources. He believed her. He never told anyone. Then a girl named Mia spoke up. She was 9. Her mother worked 2 jobs and could not attend school events or parent meetings. Brenda decided Mia came from a home that did not value education. She made Mia sit at a separate table during lunch. She told the other children that Mia had behavior problems and they should keep their distance. Mia spent 6 months eating alone. More stories followed. A boy whose parents were divorced. A girl whose older brother had been expelled from high school. A child whose family lived in a trailer park on the edge of town. Each one had been singled out. Each one had been punished for circumstances beyond their control. A pattern emerged from the interviews and records. Brenda Holloway had not targeted children at random. She had chosen them carefully. She picked children from homes she judged to be broken or unworthy. Single parents, incarcerated relatives, working-class families who could not show up to every school function. Veterans with visible scars or loud motorcycles. She believed she was teaching these children lessons their parents could not. She believed she was correcting the failures of bad homes. She never saw herself as cruel. She saw herself as necessary. The school failed to notice because no one was watching the watchers. The security cameras recorded everything, but the footage sat in servers that no one checked. Teachers were stretched thin across overcrowded classrooms. Counselors had caseloads too large to manage. The administration focused on test scores and budget meetings and state reports. Children like Lily became invisible. They slipped through every crack in a system that was not designed to catch them. Marcus cooperated with every investigation. He sat in interview rooms and answered questions for hours. He provided Lily's medical records showing her weight had dropped 12 pounds in 8 weeks. He shared photographs and timelines and everything the lawyers asked for. He did not scream at school board members. He did not threaten administrators. He did not seek revenge. He sought something harder to achieve: accountability. The Iron Wolves stood behind him through all of it. They attended every school board meeting. They sat in the back row wearing their leather vests. They did not speak during public comment periods. They did not hold signs or chant slogans. They simply watched. Their presence said everything words could not. The community is paying attention now. We will not look away. Local news stations ran stories for 3 weeks straight. Reporters interviewed parents whose children had been targeted. They talked to teachers who admitted they had seen warning signs but did not know what to do. They sat down with the bikers themselves. The interviews changed how people saw the Iron Wolves. The cameras showed men with gray beards and weathered hands talking about their children and grandchildren. They showed veterans who served overseas and came home to build quiet lives. They showed fathers who worked 6 days a week and rode motorcycles on the 7th. These were not dangerous criminals. These were citizens who cared about their community. They were the people who noticed when a child was hurting, the people who refused to stay silent. Slowly, the town's perception began to shift. 3 weeks after 200 motorcycles rolled up to Riverside Elementary, the district attorney held a press conference. Cameras flashed, microphones crowded the podium. The whole town watched. "Today we are filing formal charges against Brenda Holloway," the district attorney announced. "The charges include child abuse, willful neglect, and discrimination. If convicted, she faces up to 5 years in state prison." Marcus watched the press conference from his living room. Lily was asleep upstairs. The television volume was turned low, so it would not wake her. He listened to every word. He watched the district attorney describe the evidence. He saw Brenda Holloway's mugshot flash across the screen. Justice was coming. The system was finally doing what it should have done months ago. But Marcus knew that justice and healing were not the same thing. Charges and convictions would not erase what his daughter had experienced. Prison time for Brenda Holloway would not undo the months of fear and hunger and silence. The real question had nothing to do with courtrooms or investigations. The real question kept Marcus awake at night. How would Lily heal from what was done to her? How would she learn to trust adults again? How would she understand that what happened was not her fault? Marcus did not have the answers yet, but he knew he would spend the rest of his life finding them. Lily sat in a small chair in a room with soft walls. The carpet was blue, the lights were warm. A box of crayons sat on the table in front of her. She did not look at the woman across from her. She looked at the crayons. Dr. Amara Jensen had worked with children for 15 years. She knew that words came slowly after trauma. She knew that silence was not empty. It was full of things a child did not yet know how to say. "You can draw if you want," Dr. Jensen said. Her voice was quiet, patient. "You don't have to talk." Lily reached for a crayon, brown. She drew a long rectangle across the paper. A table. She added circles on top of it. Plates. She filled the plates with shapes that might have been food, sandwiches, apples, cookies. Then she picked up a black crayon. She drew a small figure at the edge of the paper, far from the table, far from the food, alone. Dr. Jensen watched without speaking. She did not ask questions yet. She let the picture tell its own story. Lily picked up another color, gray. She drew a tall figure standing near the table. The figure had a frown. The figure's hands were on its hips. It stood between the small figure and the food. When Lily finished, she set the crayon down. She stared at the paper. Her lip trembled. "That's a hard picture," Dr. Jensen said softly. "Can you tell me about it?" Lily shook her head. She pushed the paper away. That was the first session. Marcus sat in the lobby every time. The chairs were uncomfortable. The magazines were old. He picked them up and put them down without reading a single word. His phone buzzed with messages he did not answer. His leg bounced against the floor. He prayed. Not the way he used to pray when Elena was sick, not begging for miracles. This was different, quieter. He asked for patience. He asked for his daughter to find her way back. He asked for the strength to be what she needed. The sessions continued twice a week. Lily drew more pictures. She drew empty trays. She drew garbage bins. She drew herself small in every image, always at the edge, always alone. Then one day, she started to talk. "I was so hungry," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "All the time, even when I ate breakfast at home." Dr. Jensen nodded. "That must have been really hard." "She said I was taking too much. She said kids like me didn't deserve the same as everyone else. Kids like you." What did she mean by that? Lily picked at the edge of her sleeve. She said my dad was bad. She said bikers were criminals. She said I should be ashamed. And what did you think when she said that? I thought maybe she was right. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I thought I was being punished because I was bad. I thought if I told my dad, he would be disappointed in me. Dr. Jensen leaned forward. Her voice was gentle but firm. Lily, none of that was true. None of it. What happened to you was not your fault. Adults are supposed to protect children. When an adult hurts a child, the failure belongs to the adult, never to the child. Lily looked up. Her cheeks were wet. Never. Never. It took weeks for those words to sink in. It took patience and repetition and many more sessions. But slowly, something began to change. Lily started eating normally again. She finished her breakfast. She asked for seconds at dinner. She stopped hiding food in her pockets just in case. She started sleeping through the night. The dreams about Brenda Holloway came less often. When they did come, she could wake up and remember that she was safe, that her father was down the hall, that the bad lady could never hurt her again. She started laughing. Small laughs at first. At cartoons on television. At Button the Rabbit falling off the couch. At jokes Marcus made that were not even funny. But the sound of her laughter filled the house in a way nothing else could. Marcus changed too. He took time off from the shop. His boss understood. The bills would wait. His daughter could not. He cooked dinner every night. Simple things. Soup and bread. Pasta with butter. Grilled cheese and tomato. He made sure the table was always full. He made sure Lily knew there would always be enough. He walked her to school every morning. He picked her up at the door every afternoon. He met her new teachers. He shook their hands and looked them in the eyes and made sure they knew he was watching. He would never trust blindly again. The club helped in ways Marcus never asked for. Groceries appeared on his porch, his truck broke down, and 3 members showed up to fix it before he even made a call. On the hard nights when sleep would not come, one of the brothers would sit with him on the porch without saying a word. They did not ask for thanks. They were family. One evening, Lily sat at the kitchen table while Marcus washed dishes. She pushed her empty plate away and watched him work. Button sat in the chair beside her. "Daddy," she said. He turned off the water. He dried his hands on a towel. "Yes, sweetheart." "The motorcycle men who came to my school, are they good guys or bad guys?" Marcus walked to the table. He pulled out a chair and sat across from her. He thought about the question for a moment. "They're good guys," he said. "They just look scary, so the bad guys know not to mess with them." Lily thought about this. Her fingers played with Button's ears. "Can I ride on your motorcycle?" she asked. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest, a knot he had been carrying for weeks. He smiled for the first time since he found her on that cafeteria floor. "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, you can." The courtroom door swung open at exactly 9 in the morning. People filed in and filled every seat on the wooden benches. More stood along the back wall. More waited in the hallway outside, hoping for a glimpse of what was about to happen. 4 months had passed since Brenda Holloway walked out of Riverside Elementary for the last time. 4 months of investigations and depositions and pretrial hearings. Now the day had finally arrived. Marcus Cole sat in the front row of the gallery. He wore a clean button-down shirt instead of his leather vest. His hands rested on his knees. His jaw was tight. Beside him sat his sister, the woman who had watched Lily on the day the motorcycles came. Lily was not there. She was at home with a trusted friend from the club. She was drawing pictures of flowers and butterflies and houses with big windows. She did not need to see this. She did not need to relive it. The gallery behind Marcus was filled with faces he recognized. Parents whose children had been targeted. Teachers who had finally found their voices. Members of the Iron Wolves in clean shirts and pressed jeans, their vests left at home, out of respect for the court. Brenda Holloway sat at the defense table. Her hair was grayer than Marcus remembered. Her face was thinner. She wore a dark blue dress and sat with her hands folded in front of her. She did not look at the gallery. She did not look at Marcus. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The trial began. The prosecution moved through the evidence, piece by piece. They showed security footage from the cafeteria, timestamp after timestamp of Lily eating from the floor, alone, hungry, invisible to every adult who walked past. They presented medical records showing Lily had lost 12 pounds in 8 weeks. They showed photographs of her face before and after. The hollow cheeks, the tired eyes, the body of a child who had been slowly starved. They called other victims to the stand. Ethan, the boy whose father was in prison, described receiving half portions for a year. Mia, the girl whose mother worked 2 jobs, described eating alone every day, while other children laughed and shared snacks she could not have. They called cafeteria workers who had finally broken their silence. One woman cried on the stand. She said she saw what Brenda did. She said she knew it was wrong. She said she was afraid to speak up because Brenda had power and she needed her job. "I should have said something," she whispered. "I will never forgive myself for staying quiet." The defense tried to paint a different picture. They called Brenda a dedicated employee, a woman who believed in structure and discipline, a professional who had served the school district for 11 years without a single complaint on her record. They said she was strict, perhaps too strict, but her intentions were good. The jury sat in their chairs and listened. Their faces gave nothing away. Then Brenda Holloway took the stand. She sat straight in the witness chair. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were cold. She answered questions without hesitation. "I was trying to help these children," she said. "Their parents were not teaching them discipline. Someone had to." The prosecutor leaned forward. "You denied an 8-year-old girl food for 2 months. You forced her to eat garbage off the floor. You call that help?" Brenda did not blink. "Children from homes like hers need structure. Her father is a biker. He wears leather and tattoos. Men like that have no business raising children." The words hung in the air. Marcus felt his sister's hand press against his arm, a warning, a reminder to stay calm. "I was doing what the school could not," Brenda continued. "I was teaching her to be better than what she came from." The jury listened in silence. Their faces remained still, but something shifted in their eyes. In closing arguments, the prosecutor stood before the jury and spoke slowly. Lily Cole was 8 years old. She trusted the adults in her school to take care of her. Instead, one of those adults decided she did not deserve food, decided she did not deserve kindness, decided she was less than the other children because of who her father was. The prosecutor paused. Lily ate scraps from a cafeteria floor because she believed no one would help her, because she believed no one would believe her over a school employee. Brenda Holloway taught that little girl that she was worthless, that her hunger did not matter, that her pain was invisible. The prosecutor faced the jury directly. "Today you can send a message that children matter, all children, even the ones society overlooks, even the ones whose fathers ride motorcycles, even the ones who have no one to speak for them." The jury left to deliberate. 3 hours passed. Marcus sat in the hallway on a hard bench. He stared at the wall. He did not speak. He did not check his phone. He waited. The doors opened. The bailiff called everyone back inside. The jury foreman stood. The judge asked for the verdict. "On the charge of child abuse, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of willful neglect, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of discrimination, we find the defendant guilty." Marcus closed his eyes. His sister squeezed his hand. The judge sentenced Brenda Holloway to 4 years in state prison and a lifetime ban from working with children in any capacity. Brenda showed no reaction. She stared straight ahead as the bailiff led her away in handcuffs. She did not look at Marcus. She did not look at anyone. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around Marcus. Microphones pushed toward his face. Cameras flashed. "Mr. Cole, how do you feel about the verdict?" Marcus stood still for a moment. He looked at the reporters. He looked at the courthouse behind them. He thought about his daughter at home, drawing flowers and waiting for him to return. "I feel tired," he said. "Justice is not the same as healing. The work is not done." He turned and walked toward his motorcycle parked at the curb. He pulled on his helmet. He swung his leg over the seat. The engine roared to life. Marcus Cole rode home to his daughter. The verdict hit Riverside like a shockwave. Within hours, the story was everywhere. News stations ran segments about the trial. Social media filled with posts about Brenda Holloway and the school that let her abuse children for years. Parents who had trusted the system felt betrayed. Parents who had stayed quiet felt guilty. Everyone had questions. The school board held an emergency. Meeting 3 days after the conviction. The room was standing room only. Parents lined the walls. Teachers sat in clusters with worried faces. Members of the Iron Wolves stood in the back row. They did not speak. They did not need to. The board voted unanimously to terminate Principal David Stern. He had failed to notice months of abuse happening inside his own building. He had failed to review security footage. He had failed to listen when children stopped smiling and started shrinking. His tenure ended that night. New policies followed within weeks. The board hired an outside firm to audit every school employee. They installed a reporting system where students could share concerns anonymously through a secure website. They created a new position called Child Welfare Coordinator and filled it with a woman who had spent 20 years protecting children in foster care. Cafeteria staff received new training. Teachers received new guidelines. Every adult in every school was reminded that watching children was not just their job, it was their duty. But the biggest change did not come from the school board. It came from the community itself. Marcus sat in the Iron Wolves clubhouse 1 month after the trial. The room was quiet. Most of the members had gone home for the night. Only a handful remained, scattered across worn couches and wooden chairs. Hank, the older member with white hair and scarred knuckles, leaned back in his seat. "What happens now?" he asked. Marcus stared at his hands. "I keep thinking about the other kids, the ones who do not have someone to fight for them." "So we fight for them," Hank said. "All of them." That was how Eyes Open began. The Iron Wolves partnered with local schools to create a child safety awareness program. They started small, a single classroom visit at a single school. Marcus stood in front of 20 third graders and talked about paying attention to how they felt. He talked about speaking up when something seemed wrong. He talked about trusting their instincts. The children listened. They asked questions. They were not afraid of the man in the leather vest. They were curious. Teachers watched from the back of the room. Some of them had been nervous when the bikers first arrived, but they saw how Marcus spoke to the children. They saw how patient he was. They saw how he knelt down to meet their eyes instead of towering over them. By the end of the visit, 2 teachers asked if the program could come back. It did, again and again. Other schools invited the Iron Wolves. Then schools in neighboring towns heard about Eyes Open and reached out. Other motorcycle clubs across the state asked how they could join. Steel Legion, Black Mountain Sons, Road Saints. Men who had never worked together now shared the same mission. Within a year, Eyes Open reached 50 schools across 3 states. Bikers visited classrooms to teach children that asking for help was not weakness. It was courage. They taught parents to watch for signs of distress. They taught teachers to listen instead of dismiss. The men who once made parents nervous were now welcomed at school events. They sat at PTA meetings and community fairs. They wore their patches with pride. They proved that appearance meant nothing. Actions meant everything. Lily became a quiet symbol of the movement. Her name was never shared publicly. Her face never appeared in news stories. But her story traveled from parent to parent, from classroom to classroom. Parents told their children about the brave girl who survived. Because her father paid attention, children learned that they were not alone, that there were adults who would believe them, that speaking up could change everything. The first community event, for Eyes Open, took place on a Saturday afternoon in the Riverside Community Center. 200 people filled the folding chairs: parents, teachers, school board members, local business owners, members of 6 different motorcycle clubs. Marcus walked to the podium at the front of the room. He wore his Iron Wolves vest. He looked out at the crowd. He did not have a long speech prepared. "Every child deserves to be seen," he said. "Every child deserves to be fed. Every child deserves protection. For too long, we trusted the system to provide that. We learned the hard way that systems fail. People do not have to." He paused. His voice stayed steady. "Thank you for finally paying attention." The room was silent for a moment. Then the applause began. It filled the community center and spilled out into the parking lot where motorcycles stood in gleaming rows. After the event, Marcus stood near the exit, shaking hands. People thanked him. People asked how they could help. People promised to do better. A woman approached him. She was in her 40s. Her hair was pulled back. Her eyes were tired. "Mr. Cole," she said quietly. "My son has been acting strange lately. He does not want to go to school. He will not tell me why." Marcus looked at her. He saw the worry in her face, the fear that something was wrong and she did not know how to fix it. "I did not know who to talk to," she said. "Then I heard your story." Marcus reached into his pocket. He pulled out a card with his phone number on it. He pressed it into her hand. "Call me any time," he said. "Day or night, we will figure it out together." The woman nodded. Tears gathered in her eyes. She thanked him and walked away with the card clutched against her chest. Marcus watched her go. He thought about Lily at home. He thought about the children in classrooms across 3 states. He thought about all the work still left to do. The fight was not over, it was just beginning. The garage door rolled open, and light flooded the concrete floor. Marcus stood in the doorway with his hands on his hips. Lily waited behind him, bouncing on her heels. 6 months had passed since the trial. 6 months of slow healing and careful steps forward. Lily was back in school now, a different one across town. She had made 2 friends, a girl named Harper who loved horses, a boy named Jalen who collected rocks and knew the name of every dinosaur. She still saw Dr. Jensen once a month. But the sessions had changed. Lily talked more than she drew now. She told stories about her day. She laughed at jokes Dr. Jensen made. She was finding her way back to the girl she used to be. Marcus worked at the shop again. His hands stayed busy with engines and transmissions and the honest labor that had always grounded him. But he left early every Friday. That was his day with Lily, their day. Sometimes they went to the park, sometimes they got ice cream and sat on a bench watching dogs chase squirrels. Sometimes they stayed home and Lily read on the porch while Marcus tuned his motorcycle in the driveway. Today was different. Today, Lily had asked again. "Can I ride on your motorcycle now, Daddy?" Marcus had been waiting for this, hoping for it. He had hidden something in the garage 3 months ago, just in case. He walked to the far corner where a tarp covered a workbench. Lily followed him, her eyes curious. Marcus pulled back the tarp. Underneath sat a helmet, small, pink, custom painted with blue and purple butterflies that seemed to float across the surface. Lily's eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She reached for the helmet with both hands. "Is this mine?" she whispered. "It's yours," Marcus said. "Had it made special. Try it on." Lily lifted the helmet carefully. She slid it over her head. It fit perfectly. She looked up at Marcus through the visor. Her smile was the biggest he had seen in a long time. They walked the motorcycle out of the garage together. Marcus swung his leg over the seat. He reached back and helped Lily climb on behind him. Her small arms wrapped around his waist. "Hold on tight," he said. "We're going to go slow, real slow. You tell me if you want to stop." "I don't want to stop," Lily said. The engine rumbled to life. The vibration traveled through the frame and into their bones. Marcus eased off the clutch. The motorcycle rolled forward. They rode through the neighborhood at a careful pace, past the houses with their green lawns and chain-link fences, past the corner store where Marcus bought Lily popsicles in summer, past the mailbox where she used to wait for letters from her grandmother. Lily felt the wind on her arms. It was warm and soft and smelled like cut grass. She saw the world from a new angle, higher than walking, faster than a bicycle. Everything looked different from the back of her father's motorcycle. She was not scared, not even a little. She felt free. Marcus turned onto the road that led out of the neighborhood. They climbed a gentle hill at the edge of town. At the top, he pulled off onto a gravel shoulder and cut the engine. The town spread out below them. Houses and shops and streets they both knew by heart. The water tower in the distance. The church steeple. The building that used to be her school. They sat in silence for a long moment. The wind rustled through the grass beside them. A bird called from somewhere in the trees. "Daddy?" Lily said softly. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm glad you're my dad." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. Not pain, something warmer. He reached back and put his hand over hers. "I'm glad you're my daughter." They did not need more words than that. The silence between them was full enough. After a while, Marcus started the engine again. They rode back down the hill. and through the quiet streets. Lily waved at an elderly woman watering her garden. The woman looked up. She saw the little girl on the back of the motorcycle. She saw the big man in leather steering slow and careful. She smiled and waved back. She understood. When they got home, Lily took off her helmet and held it against her chest. She did not want to put it down. Marcus hung his by the door and started thinking about dinner. Later that night, after Lily had eaten and brushed her teeth and climbed into bed with Button tucked under her arm, Marcus found her standing in front of the refrigerator. She held a photograph in one hand and a piece of tape in the other. She reached up and pressed the photo to the freezer door. Marcus walked closer. The photo showed the two of them at the top of the hill, helmets in hand, the town behind them, both of them smiling. A man from the Iron Wolves had ridden up behind them and taken the picture before they even knew he was there. Beneath the photograph, Lily had written 3 words in purple crayon, "Best Friday ever." Marcus stood there looking at the photo for a long time. He thought about everything they had been through, the pain, the fear, the long road back. He thought about Elena and how proud she would be of the girl Lily was becoming. He thought about the brothers who had stood beside him when everything fell apart. He thought about the work still left to do, but tonight he thought mostly about this. A photograph on a refrigerator door. A little girl asleep with her rabbit. A Friday that felt like the first day of something new. The story of what happened at Riverside Elementary would never fully fade, but it no longer defined them. Lily was not a victim anymore. She was a survivor, a daughter, a girl who rode motorcycles with her father and waved at strangers and wrote in purple crayon. And Marcus was not just a man who fought for his daughter. He was a father who showed up every single day, who cooked dinner and checked homework and sat on porches and rode slow through quiet streets. That was enough. That was everything. 300 people filled the Riverside Community Center. The chairs were packed so tight that latecomers stood along the walls. Children sat cross-legged on the floor near the front. Parents clustered in groups, whispering and pointing at the banners that hung from the ceiling. The banners had been painted by local kids. Bright colors and uneven letters spelled out messages about safety and courage and kindness. One banner showed a child holding hands with a tall figure in a leather vest. Another showed a row of motorcycles beneath the words "Eyes Open" in bold red paint. 1 year had passed since Marcus Cole found his daughter on that cafeteria floor. 1 year since 200 motorcycles rolled up to Riverside Elementary. 1 year since everything changed. The parking lot outside was packed with bikes. Chrome gleamed under the afternoon sun. Riders in leather vests moved through the crowd, shaking hands, hugging old friends, meeting new ones. The patches on their backs told a dozen different stories. Iron Wolves, Steel Legion, Black Mountain Suns, Road Saints. 12 clubs had ridden in together for this day. Lily walked through the crowd holding Marcus's hand. She was taller now. Her cheeks were fuller. Her eyes were brighter. She still did not like loud noises or crowded places, but she was learning to manage. Dr. Jensen called it resilience. Marcus called it bravery. She wore a small denim jacket with a patch sewn onto the back. It was not a club patch. It was the Eyes Open logo. A child's handprint surrounded by the silhouette of a motorcycle. Her aunt had made it for her. People recognized her as she passed, not because her name had been shared publicly. It had not, but they knew. Parents nodded at Marcus with respect in their eyes. Children waved at Lily like she was one of them, because she was. The event began with a welcome from the new principal at Riverside Elementary. She spoke about the changes the district had made, the new policies, the new positions, the new commitment to seeing every child. A police officer took the stage next. He talked about the importance of reporting concerns. He talked about how adults sometimes dismiss what children tell them. He talked about how one phone call can change a life. A child psychologist followed. She explained the signs of distress that parents and teachers should watch for. Withdrawal, changes in eating, fear of certain places or people. She said children rarely lie about abuse. She said believing them was the first step to protecting them. Then a biker named Hank walked to the podium. His white hair caught the light. His scarred hands gripped the edges of the lectern. "We are not heroes," he said. His voice was rough but steady. "We are fathers, grandfathers, uncles, brothers. We ride motorcycles, and we wear leather, and some people look at us and see trouble." He paused. The room was silent. But trouble is what we ride toward, not away from. When a child is hurting, we show up. When a parent needs help, we answer. That is who we are. That is who we have always been. The applause lasted a full minute. Marcus was asked to speak last. He walked to the podium with his vest on his shoulders and his daughter watching from the front row. He did not have a long speech prepared. He never did. "Thank you for being here," he said. "Thank you for not looking away. Thank you to every biker who answered my call that morning. Thank you to every parent who demanded change. Thank you to every teacher who learned to listen." He looked at Lily. She smiled at him. Button the rabbit sat in her lap. "Thank you to my daughter," Marcus said. His voice softened. "For trusting me with the truth. For being braver than anyone should ever have to be." He paused. The room waited. "My wife, Elena, passed away 3 years ago. She believed the world was full of good people. She believed they were just waiting for a reason to show it." Marcus looked out at the crowd. 300 faces, bikers and parents and teachers and children, all of them here because they cared. "This room," he said, "this night, this movement, it's proof that she was right." The applause that followed shook the walls. After the event, Lily walked outside with Marcus. The parking lot glowed with taillights and chrome. Riders gathered in clusters, talking and laughing. Engines rumbled as some began to pull away. Lily pointed at the rows of motorcycles. "How many clubs came tonight, Daddy?" Marcus looked at the patches. He counted them one by one. 12, he said. Lily nodded. Her face was serious. 12 is a good number. They walked to Marcus's bike. He helped her put on her butterfly helmet. He climbed on, and she climbed up behind him. Her arms wrapped around his waist. The engine roared to life. They pulled out of the parking lot and turned onto the quiet road. The sky above them was clear and filled with stars. Marcus rode slow. There was no rush. The town rolled past on either side. Houses with warm lights in the windows. Streets they both knew by heart. Behind them, the roar of other engines faded into the night. A reminder that somewhere, someone was always watching out for the ones who needed it most. When they got home, Marcus made dinner. Nothing fancy. Grilled cheese and tomato soup, Lily's favorite. They sat at the kitchen table together. The table was full. The house was warm. Lily ate slowly. She savored every bite. She did not rush. She did not hide food in her pockets. She did not worry about where her next meal would come from. Marcus watched her. He thought about everything they had been through. The pain, the fear, the long nights, the small victories. He thought about Elena, about the life they had planned, about the life they were living now. Lily looked up from her soup. "This is good, Daddy." "Yeah," Marcus said. "It is." He felt something settle in his chest, something he thought he had lost forever in those dark months after the cafeteria floor, after the trial, after the sleepless nights wondering if his daughter would ever be whole again. Peace, not the absence of pain, not the forgetting of what happened, but something quieter, something that came from knowing he had done everything he could, from knowing Lily was safe, from knowing they had built something bigger than themselves. The photograph still hung on the refrigerator door. Best Friday ever. Beside it now were other pictures. Lily at her new school. Lily with her friends Harper and Jalen. Lily on the back of the motorcycle with her butterfly helmet. A life rebuilt. A family healed. A community awakened. Outside, the night was quiet. The motorcycles were parked. The engines were silent. But the story would keep spreading. Parent to parent. Town to town. Child to child. A reminder that paying attention matters, that speaking up matters, that protecting the ones who cannot protect themselves is not just a duty, it is a calling. And somewhere out there, another father was noticing something wrong. Another child was waiting to be seen. Another community was about to wake up. The legacy lived on.